If you thought West Coast Racers took a long time to open, then you probably haven't heard of Mission Ferrari, Flying Turns, or Orphan Rocker. Katoomba is a town in New South Wales, Australia, chief town of the City of Blue Mountains. The name Katoomba is derived from Katoomba, an Aboriginal term for shining falling water. The Aboriginal people lived in the Blue Mountains for thousands of years, specifically the Gundungurra and Darug tribes, and there are still traditional Aboriginal people living in the Blue Mountains. The Blue Mountains were a site of mining in the 19th century, but when the seams were exhausted by the early 20th century, Katoomba had become more of a resort town. A Katoomba local entrepreneur, Harry Hammond ran a transport business in Katoomba that specialized in transporting coal. One day in 1945, 3 American soldiers asked to ride Harry's steep train. However, this was on a Tuesday and the train only operated on weekends. This gave Harry the idea to begin operating the train as an attraction for extra money. When World War II ended in 1945, Harry believed that the economy and tourism industry in Australia were about to grow. His vision was to transform a former coal mine of the Blue Mountains into an iconic tourist attraction. This idea led to the establishment of Scenic World in Katoomba.
Feel the hair stand up on the back of your neck. Feel the goosebumps on your skin. Scenic World. Feel small again.
Scenic World describes itself as a self-guided, nature-based experience. The steep coal train, now by the name of the Scenic Railway, would go on to operate for tourists for over 70 years.
Well, this is it, the Blue Mountains Scenic Railway. It's been here since 1934, going over the edge and dropping down 250 metres into the Jamison Valley. Now, it's fairly scary, so I'd suggest that what you do is sit well back in your seat. You'll notice they slope backwards. Hang on to the bar in front of you or the seat behind you. Put your feet firmly on the plate in front of you and keep your fingers crossed. And in about 3 seconds, we'll be over the edge.
It has also been recently redeveloped in 2013. In 1958, the Scenic Skyway was created for the destination as Australia's first cable car. This cable car is suspended 270 meters, nearly 900 feet, in the air, providing tremendous views for passengers. Today, Scenic World is still operated by the Hammond family and is led by Harry's granddaughter, Anthea Hammond. Scenic World holds special events and is home to a handful of scenic attractions. These include the Scenic Walkway, Scenic Cableway, Scenic Skyway, and Scenic Railway, just to name a scenic few. However, one major attraction intended for this nature center would see troubled development for decades, never opening to the public. The Scenic Coaster. Orphan Rocker. Katoomba's lost roller coaster, dubbed as the world's scariest roller coaster by some, Orphan Rocker. Named after the nearby rock formation Orphan Rock, the Orphan Rocker project was started in the early 1980s by Harry Hammond and his son Philip Hammond. What originally started as an idea for a monorail navigating around the site, mutated into a roller coaster passion project. Philip Hammond is credited as the lead designer for the roller coaster. In 1985, Harry was quoted in the Sydney Morning newspaper saying, "It's a frightening ride. It really will be a bit of a horror." The cars are designed like coal mine carts and rock side to side, sort of like a swinging suspended roller coaster, but not suspended. Orphan Rocker traveled through the forest, diving into tunnels and under bridges. Its most notable feature was particularly terrifying for those with a fear of extreme heights. This was the highlight of the ride. A swooping bank turn that would take passengers within meters of a cliff face with a 200-meter drop-off, nearly 700 feet. The ride was reportedly mostly complete by the mid-1980s, so what's the problem? Harry spoke very positively about the ride's progress in a September 24, 1985 issue of the Sydney Morning Herald newspaper. He says that the Orphan Rocker has already been sent on unmanned tests. All that remains to be done is the fine-tuning of the fail-safe electronics and letter of approval from the Department of Labor and Industry. He goes on to say, "The DLI have already seen it, and they don't seem concerned about it. We still have a few problems with the electronic gear to be ironed out, so I can't say when we will be operating, but it could be any day in the next few weeks." So, if Harry was so confident the ride would open that soon, why wasn't Orphan Rocker ever opened? In 2006, Harry's granddaughter Anthea told the Sydney Morning Herald that while she wants to get Orphan Rocker open to the public, devoting time to it is a big challenge. Yeah, quite the time jump I made there. Somehow, a few weeks became 20 years. The Hammond family has been continuously questioned about Orphan Rocker for decades. The common answer by Scenic World spokespeople and the Hammond family is that other higher priority areas of the property required redevelopment. I kept seeing this answer in publications time and time again, but why would you stop so late in construction? Orphan Rocker was not a cheap project, and it costed the Hammond family millions. The Hammond family even stated that the ride has operated test runs. Photos surfaced of people riding Orphan Rocker. A handful of people spoke online of seeing a television broadcast in the 80s featuring a reporter taking a ride on Orphan Rocker. This came out of a show called Just for the Record. But the episode's only witnesses were those who can recall the original broadcast. It was since nowhere to be found on or off the internet. One viewer only recalled seeing the train navigate about, quote, 10 feet of track. Still, it would seem that the roller coaster was near completion. It seems weird that the coaster didn't open after so much investment had gone into what appeared to be a nearly complete attraction. I mean, it was testing. Supposedly, it tested a lot. The delayed opening and construction sparked rumors about the coaster's safety, to which Anthea Hammond responded that she had ridden Orphan Rocker hundreds of times, and said that she wouldn't have ridden it at all if it wasn't safe. Despite this, the rumors grew and grew. I have to admit, for a testing coaster to just sit for decades without opening seems suspicious and profound. There were rumors that the designer wasn't a qualified engineer. We now know that Philip Hammond was at least the lead engineer on the project. Harry himself also played a pretty big part. Philip, Harry, and Anthea all have a lot of engineering experience, but whether or not they're qualified to engineer roller coasters, well, it's not necessarily in their wheelhouse. I mean, look at the track profiling on this thing. It looks like it was drawn by a 6-year-old. Another rumor was going around suggesting that Orphan Rocker was never approved by the council. But I found one rumor in particular to be integral in the conversation of this ride's non-opening state. According to numerous sources, sandbags were loaded onto the coaster cars for testing. When the cars returned, the sandbags were missing. Part of the tale is that the missing sandbags were a major factor to the ride remaining unopened. This rumor has been denied by the Hammond family, specifically Philip and Anthea. In the same 2006 article by the Sydney Morning Herald, Anthea Hammond was said to have stated, "The rumors are untrue and scientifically impossible. The laws of physics don't allow objects to eject from the carriages due to gravity, so the myths are obviously untrue." Sure. In this YouTube video by Coaster Writer, a voice is heard telling this rumor.
Harry, I think, had just handed over to his son. They were looking around for ideas, and they decided to build a roller coaster. It was getting a bit like a theme park. Anyway, they built the track and they put the carriages on it to test it. And they put sandbags in the carriages and sent the train off on its way. In due course, it came back, and well, you can probably guess the rest. The sandbags didn't.
It sounds like it's being told by a tour guide, so has the rumor potentially been spread by actual Scenic World staff themselves? But interestingly enough, even the commenters are shutting this rumor down. This is a rumor with a long history. It's been thrown around on the internet for many years now, and also by Katoomba locals. One article from the early 2000s states that the rumor was discovered from a television broadcast. Yep, the previously mentioned Just for the Record episode, which again was no longer available anywhere. In fact, without any existing proof, the coaster community debated on whether or not people actually have ridden Orphan Rocker at all. There was this picture of people in the car, but that was apparently on the transfer track. Pretty suspicious. People suspected that this photo may have been put out by Scenic World in an effort to deceive the public into thinking that the ride was safe and functioning. But shockingly, a video would appear on YouTube as recently as December of 2019. Roller Coaster Club of Great Britain posted the rumored Just for the Record segment onto YouTube. It was finally made available for the first time in 30 years. And yes, the host is seen riding Orphan Rocker.
It's never been ridden before, until now.
Well, this is all very nice, but what can I expect from the Orphan Rocker?
Expect a 30-metre drop right down to the edge of the cliff. You go through a very sharp hairpin bend, which is equivalent to a 2G, which is similar as you would jump off a wall around about 8 feet high, falling and jumping on the balls with your feet.
What in the goddamn hell are you talking about?
I really do think this is silly.
Yet, the sandbag rumor was nowhere to be found in this clip. Could it be that the sandbag rumor appeared in some other long-lost TV broadcast? Was it just missing from this portion uploaded by RCCGB? Even if that was the case, my theory is that the rumor could be potentially true. Maybe sandbags were ejected from the cars, but only because they are sandbags and not actually secured test dummies. Of course, sandbags would be ejected from most roller coasters. That's why the safety signs at roller coaster entrances tell you not to ride if you are missing limbs. It's not scientifically impossible, I'm sorry. Honestly, some details in this broadcast makes it lose a little bit of credibility.
If you should come off the rails, you'll only have a fall of 1,000 meters to the bottom of the gorge. 1,000 meters?
Like, okay, it's 200 meters, not 1,000. But, okay, if I had to guess, they might be joking out of hyperbole. The way he repeats it, though, it feels a little bit deceiving.
1,000 meters?
The highest point of the Blue Mountains is about 1,000 meters, so maybe that was their point of reference, but still, boo. The footage in this broadcast is also randomly sped up, so a few things are being exaggerated here. It's actually reported that this ride went around 27 miles per hour. That is definitely sped up. This TV segment and the Hammond family themselves have embellished how scary this attraction was. I'm sure the rocking cars and the cliff edges added to the experience, but like I said, the coaster went 27 miles per hour. Was it truly as terrifying as they said? Orphan Rocker has had many additional rumors circulating around its long sporadic construction. Another rumor was that the coaster's cars have even fallen off the track, but that rumor doesn't appear to have any legs and is referenced far less. Kind of sounds like the sandbag rumor being exaggerated into something bigger. Modifications began being made to Orphan Rocker, and naturally this added more fuel to the rumors surrounding safety. However, Anthea Hammond stated that the modifications to the ride were for comfort rather than safety. The story of Orphan Rocker just gets weirder and weirder. Since the 1990s, several pieces of Orphan Rocker's track have been removed, redesigned, and replaced. The track has also reportedly been repainted as well, mid-2001. Roller Coaster Database states that the wheel hubs were replaced in 2002. The coaster was also reportedly being worked on in February 2004. We don't know exactly how many more changes have been made to the ride. According to Philip Hammond, there have been, quote, many rebuilds of both track equipment and train parts. Even up until 2017, things still seemed up in the air for Orphan Rocker, as crazy as that sounds. Pieces finally began being dismantled, but this time they were not being replaced, 30 years after the ride's planned opening. A source connected to the local council told Info Blue Mountains that Scenic World did not have the required insurance to operate a roller coaster. Many signs point to the roller coaster not being approved to be open. Anthea Hammond shoots down hard on those rumors as well, though. When asked, Anthea Hammond's statement is always that Orphan Rocker didn't open because other areas of the site required more urgent development. Rumors are rumors, but I believe the overwhelming amount of suggestions pointing to more than something as simple as priorities. The redesigned track pieces suggest that the ride was not properly engineered. It seems to me that the Hammond family was a bit in over their heads with an in-house roller coaster project. There are also suggestions of residents opposing the addition of the ride. A document from the local council contains details about nearby residents opposed to extended hours to Scenic World due to noise levels associated with the site. One resident spoke on the issue stating that a steam clock goes off every hour and loud buses pass by constantly. She says that Anthea Hammond even offered to add soundproof windows to her house. When it comes to Orphan Rocker, she is heavily opposed to the noise levels that would come with it. Just the thing trundling along the track is bad enough, Lorraine said. But people yelling, screaming, yahooing? She shook her head. No. No. Yahoo! Sometimes when residents living near an amusement park complain about noise levels, I start to roll my eyes a little bit, but these Katoomba residents like their peace. This is a forest with a park that has a couple sky gondolas and a railway. Scenic World is not an amusement park by any means. I think about its residents and the Aboriginal people. A roller coaster doesn't really fit in with scenic rides revolving around nature-based experiences. Sure, you can experience nature in beautiful ways on roller coasters, but their sole purpose is still to provide an experience of thrills. The sole purpose of the rides at Scenic World is to experience nature. The case of Orphan Rocker reminds me of a similar case at a wildlife park in Sweden. Kolmården Wildlife Park was already home to 2 family roller coasters. It's not all too uncommon for zoos to have roller coasters like these. What is a bit more unusual though is a massive inverting wooden roller coaster by Rocky Mountain Construction. Do you have one of those at your local zoo? No? Wow, what a shock. Wildfire operated for 1 season before being shut down by the council. However, a zoning license was permitted the following year. When an attraction doesn't exactly fit in at a park like this, it can be difficult to get it approved. Orphan Rocker had numerous run-ins with the council, and redesigning the ride over the course of years only complicated the approval process. Poor engineering could have very well contributed to the halted approval. Going back to the segment from Just for the Record, the host states that he wasn't even made aware that the coaster was still undergoing adjustments and was not approved for operation. This is absolutely baffling to me.
Yeah, I was scared. Well, for good reason. I mean, that thing hasn't been fixed yet, properly. I mean, it's still undergoing department regulation, nuts and bolts getting tightened up, that sort of thing. And I didn't know. And I hold the record for the only person to be riding around on that thing in the general public. Yes, because it's not fixed. And there I am, riding around, brave as hell. You saw me, didn't you? Brave as hell. I could have been thrown off into the Blue Mountains and had 3 sisters by now.
If I was that TV host, I would be a little angry about that. Philip has been more open about the ride's revisions than Anthea. In 1999, he wrote to an online publication, Info Blue Mountains. What started out as a relatively simple idea has become quite a complex exercise. Needing to comply with the Australian standard AS 3533, which was being worked up as we were developing the ride, consequentially quite a few revisions had to be made as we went along. AS 3533 refers to the standards of amusement structures. Philip's 1999 letter continues. We are now on the very last leg of this exercise. Oh boy. Having to rebuild the passenger car gimbal bearings, all 20 of them, as they had not been originally built to the correct specification. Oof. So yeah, it sounds like the engineering was somewhat of a mess on this roller coaster. Add noise complaints by the residents on top of this, and I think we have an understanding of the major hurdles that Orphan Rocker fell to. And though it's a shame the ride never opened after all the investments that went into it, Scenic World looks like it provides wonderful attractions and experiences, none of which would Orphan Rocker really fit in with. So would you have ridden Orphan Rocker if given the chance? As always, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe for more video essays like this one, as well as a variety of theme park videos. This has been Zero Credits Remaining, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.